My sport is netball, and I was very fortunate to be able to play for Wales 81 times, captain my country, attend 3 Commonwealth Games as an athlete and 3 World Championships, and many European competitions and international tests outside of that. I think for me, netball has opened so many doors. It has been the first thing I talk about whenever I go into an interview. It sparks conversation with people around the dinner table. Everybody that I meet seems to be so interested in sport and interested in athletes and our journey. So for me, playing netball has given me so many opportunities that I would not have had I not focused on netball and my career there. I think also for me, it's about being around really strong women. I was fortunate to come into the Welsh team when I was fairly young. I think I made that transition from sort of junior level to senior level around the age of 18. And I got to spend time with women who had far more life experience than I did, women who were in their 20s and their 30s, and obviously coaches in their sort of 40s, 50s and 60s. And for me, that was something that I really needed. I was fortunate enough to be able to learn from all of these fantastic women that had been there and done it before I did. And they really did help shape me as an individual. And I think being in sport keeps you disciplined. It gives you good habits. It allows you to develop as a whole person. And certainly my take on the world is far more well-rounded as a result of playing netball. And, you know, my cultural experiences are far greater than they would have been. I'm from a small council estate in the valleys of Wales, and I have been able to travel the world with netball and meet lots of different people from lots of different places and experience life in lots of different ways. So it has helped me hugely to become far more well-rounded and to look at the world with grace and to be accepting of people and to want to be open-minded to other ways of doing things, other cultures, and being really respectful of the fact that there is not one way to be in this world, and that even in netball we're all trying to do the same thing, which is to win, but we're all going about it in different ways, and that's the beauty of sport, I think. The other thing that stands out to me in terms of how netball has shaped me as a person is that I was really inspired as a young netball player around the age of sort of 12 or 13 to see these ladies that were coming to a county trial. I was there with my school, and we had some Welsh netball players that were senior athletes come and talk to us at the trial and talk to us about how great netball was. And at the time I was doing lots of different sports, and I wasn't solely focused on netball. It wasn't sort of my passion at that point. But I saw a lady that looked like me. I saw a woman of colour, and she was wearing, Wales netball kit, and she was a senior athlete, and she spoke so beautifully about the sport and the opportunities that it had, handed to her. And I think I went home after that sort of county trial, and I said to my mum, I want to play netball for Wales. And that was the tipping point. I had seen somebody that looked like me, and I had been inspired by her. And I think that's another key thing for me for sport. It was the first time that I was around women and girls that looked like me. I hadn't had a lot of that growing up through school. I was in a predominantly white school, and I was one of maybe 2 people of colour in the school. So being able to come into the netball environment and see many more people that looked like me was amazing. I think being a Black person, it gives you a different view of the world. And I think I grew up in a majority white town and school, and I'm from a mixed race. So for me, my mum is white, my dad is Black, but I consider myself to be Black because I don't look white, so I can't really easily identify as white. So, I feel that I identify as a Black woman. And for me, as I said, going into netball and into sport has opened my eyes to the wonderful opportunities that exist for people like myself, but also to some of the less appealing aspects. There are definitely things that I would say are negative about sport still today. And, we know racism still exists, and it exists in all walks of life. There is no space that is immune from it. So for me, sport has always been really a platform for change and, breaking barriers and inspiring generations. And it's important for me to be able to see, Black athletes and Black leaders in sport. But I'm somewhat more, excited about seeing Black leaders outside of sport. I would love to see more Black coaches. I would love to see more Black senior leaders, more Black CEOs. It is really important because we want young Black people to be able to have role models outside of the traditional spaces where we have seen Black people be successful, so sport and entertainment. It's important that we are supporting people to thrive beyond sport and to make waves in the careers that they choose after sport. And I think that's where ACT comes in, and it can be a real conduit for that, for, people of colour and anybody really that wants to achieve in life beyond sport. I think, growing up, it was very difficult for me to see people in leadership positions, and still today I don't see that many Black leaders. I would love to see more, and I think it's about being able to create spaces where others can see themselves, and we try in that community to be very aware of the fact we don't want everyone that comes into the community to look the same or sound the same or have the same background. So my role in that community is to make sure that we have representation, that we are able to present opportunities for all, and that we're a welcoming community, because that's really important. I think we've come a long way. I think we've made strides forward in terms of equality and representation, but inclusion isn't really a moment, it's a movement. So for me, it's about continual action in this space. It's about opportunity and allyship every day of the year, not just on Black History Month or, in October. It's about what we do all of the time. And I think if we continue to learn from the past and recognise and celebrate the achievements of the amazing Black people that have gone before us, then that is hugely positive. And I think Black History Month does that. But I think we need to look at something that is living and evolving, and it's about the stories that we're writing now. And, for me, more opportunity, more representation is key. And, it's important that everybody is working towards that. It's not just the role of Black people to work towards achieving these things. For me, as I said, it's about allyship. It's about everybody contributing and everybody being part of the conversation so that we can move things forward even more, and celebrate the great that has happened, but also be looking to the future and how we can move things forward. So yeah, representation does matter, as does the way that people are represented. So I think for me, there has definitely been a lack of visibility, particularly when it comes to role models, as I've talked about, and seeing Black women like myself being successful. I think, I was born in the 80s, so for me, we were still going through a time when I was younger in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, and heading into the 2000s, where, casual racism was still a thing in a lot of spaces. And I think, like a lot of Black people, we just learned to put up and shut up. And, I'm not comfortable with that anymore. So I will definitely challenge when I hear any casual racism in any space, whether that's in work or in sport, and I have done so. And it takes people by surprise. And I know, a lot of the people that I've challenged around this kind of stuff immediately dial it back and apologize or feel embarrassed or say, I didn't mean it. And, I know it can be a generational thing as well, in terms of the language that we use, not just around race, but about gender, sexuality, the way we talk about women in certain spaces. I think things need to change, but unless you pull someone up on it, then they may not be aware that that language is outdated or that something they're saying is offensive. So I'm much more on the forefront of it now, and I will challenge, and I don't have to be quiet about it. And so for me, that's a positive, because we have much more visibility now about racism. We have, campaigns that are going on in sport where there's no room for racism, in football, in netball, and in lots of other sports. So people are far more aware of it. I don't think it's changed hugely, though. I think visibility of Black people in lots of arenas has grown. I think there are still some challenges around, equality, equity, and, the space around EDI. I think there's still far more that can be done. I think there are still some people that think everything is equal, and I definitely know that that's not the case. There is a level of privilege that I have that I'm well aware of, because I am a mixed race person. I've had the opportunity to go to university. I've had the ability and the means to buy my own home, and lots of other things that I consider myself to have as privilege. But there are certainly more privileged people in the world than I am, and there are certainly less. And I think if we're naive enough to think that the playing field is level, then that's problematic. I think we have to be realistic about each individual's opportunity, the opportunities that they've been given, whether that's through, their gender, their race, their socioeconomic background, their sexuality or sexual orientation. I feel like there's still a lot of work to do there. I think we're still pushing that sort of pushing on the door to make sure, I certainly feel like I am anyway, that I'm not perpetually in a conversation with people who always assume that the playing field is equal, because it's absolutely not. We know that it is far more difficult for Black students to achieve in comparison to their white counterparts at university, for example, even though they'll go in with the same grade profile and the same background. So what is the issue there? We know in the workplace that there have been similar issues in terms of people making their way in terms of the hierarchy or the structures that are in work, in terms of rising through the ranks to senior leadership roles, particularly in the CEO space and at C-suite level. And, it's not, it's still not at a space that I would like it to be. I think, young Black people now are seeing themselves more often in different places and spaces, and they therefore feel like they can enter those spaces and they can aspire to achieve things as well. But it's still not to the extent that, other people, white people are able to see themselves. And I think it's just going to be an ongoing conversation. I think this will continue. I think we need the conversations to continue. We need to talk more loudly about this stuff, and people need to be willing to listen as well. And allyship in this space is really important. I feel more able to be open and talk more freely about race, and to be able to challenge, and to be able to recognize that I'm not alone in this space. I've certainly had some negative experiences in sport, and being able to talk to other people about those shared experiences and knowing that I'm not alone has been really sort of helpful. I think that is progress in itself, that we're able to have those open conversations. I think we have to look to build more inclusive communities. That is the key thing that still needs to happen. And, there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to this. So we've got to be really mindful about the approaches we take to, recognizing and celebrating the progress that has happened, but also being cognizant of the fact that we are not there yet. I think for me, identity is massive in sport, and if you are comfortable in your skin, that makes life a lot easier. It allows you to perform more freely. If you're carrying, a heavy load around with you because you don't feel comfortable, or you don't feel like you fit in, or you don't feel like your contribution is valid or valued, then that's really damaging. So being able to create safe spaces where athletes can share how they're feeling and feel supported and feel heard is really, really important. I think for most of us, if we feel heard around a challenge or a problem that we're facing or an issue that's affecting us, then that's really powerful. So, the ability to be heard is far greater today than it has been. I think feeling like you're not taking a tokenistic approach is important as well. So I've seen real progress in some communities. I've seen real progress in some sports and some, places that I've worked, for example, where you have really committed, genuine people who want to turn the dial on this, who want to work hard to be allies, who want to tackle racism at the core. And I really respect and value that. I really enjoy being part of those conversations because that's what I want. There have been other places that have been the opposite, where it's tokenistic, it's box ticking, and that's not just about race, it's about, the whole EDI spectrum. So for me, moving away from a tokenistic approach and taking a real, genuine approach to tackling racism and recognizing that there is still work to be done in this space is key for me. And, when I'm able to have honest conversations with people about race, when people are genuinely interested in how my journey through life has been, what my lived experiences are, and when people ask me questions about how they can be better and about how the work environment can be better or how the sports environment can be better, that is what gives me, strength and hope. So yes, it's very much about taking a real genuine approach to this and wanting to tackle the issues that we know are still there. I think ACT community plays a massive role in helping people feel part of something, feel valued, feel seen, and feel supported. That to me is key. And as head of community for ACT, it's absolutely where I lead from. It's my starting point. I talk a lot to the colleagues that I work with in the community and the people that we bring into the community as guest speakers about the fact that representation is key, and we want to be diverse and we want to be inclusive, and we want to make sure that all of the people that are in this wonderful community feel like they belong. If you feel like you belong, you feel like you're part of something, and you feel supported and you feel safe to be who you are. And that, you can't imagine how many people haven't felt that in their life. So it's not the norm to feel that. So to be able to create a space like that in our community for our athletes is really, really important. It's definitely the starting point. We want athletes to be able to thrive beyond their sporting careers. That's what we're all about. We want to empower diverse voices. We want to make sure that we create opportunities for people, and we give our athletes a platform to, be seen. And we want to be able to challenge the barriers that still exist. And it's important that we talk about these things and we acknowledge that they're still there. I think, for me, growing up, I wasn't always comfortable speaking out. I thought I had to be different. I thought I had to change to fit into the sort of surroundings that I was in. And I often felt like I didn't belong because of that, because it didn't feel like it should have felt. So to be able to be myself in that community and be vulnerable and to share my story from sport and beyond is really, really important. So I do hope that all of our athletes feel like it's a place where they belong, because they absolutely do. And, in this world where it can still to this day sometimes feel like doors are being closed and walls are being built around us to separate us and to, stop us from being who we are and to stop connectivity and community, there is a space for athletes to feel safe. And, I think it's important that we address difficult things that are happening in the world as part of the community, and we give people a safe space to talk about them if they want to.